Good evening, Cleveland sports fans. This is Jen B, and you're tuned in live to the show of the land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Sorry for the delay, everyone. I had some computer issues, but it's working now, so here we go. We're going to talk about the Guardians, some pitching stuff. We're going to talk about some of the rookie pitchers and what's going on with the bullpen. And we're going to talk about some suspensions, how the Guardians are doing. We're going to talk about the Browns' preseason game against Washington, training camp, injuries, joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles, and the upcoming preseason game against the Eagles. And then we have some Cavs news finally. Got some schedules releasing, preseason and the in-season tournament, so we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. So let's talk Guardians. So the Guardians just wrapped up a series with the Tampa Bay Rays, and I wasn't expecting much, but it actually ended up going better than expected. Jose Ramirez got his suspension reduced from 3 games to 2 games for the brawl with Tim Anderson and the White Sox. He served his suspension the last 2 games of the Rays series. So I was not too optimistic about those 2 games, given that Josh Naylor is still out with injury and Ramirez was suspended, so no bats. What's going to happen, right? Well, little did I know everybody was going to decide to start hitting, so it actually didn't turn out so bad. The first game that Jose was out, they ended up losing by 1 run in the bottom of the 9th inning. Gavin Williams pitched an amazing game again. He pitched 5 innings with 10 strikeouts. They were winning when he went out, and then, the lovely bullpen came in and blew that. Clase gave up another blown save. This is like his worst season ever. It's not cool. It's not cool, Clase. Not cool. So when he came in, they were winning 5-3, and he gave up 3 runs, and they lost 6-5. But then the next game, they had Tanner Bybee pitching, and he went 7 innings, which was great. I believe it's the second game in a row that he went 7 innings, so that's always helpful. Keep the bullpen out of the game so they can't blow it. But the offense was on fire, hitting like crazy. They ended up winning 9-2, so that was awesome. And then they were off yesterday, and they're back at it today for the Battle of Ohio with Cincinnati. So we'll see how that goes. And Jose's back. Woohoo! But it was very nice to see some of the young guys come in and play well and not make things harder than they needed to be with our 2 best players out. So hopefully we'll be getting Josh Naylor back soon, and then things will be a little bit better on the offensive front. But they've been holding their own so far, so it's nice to see that the bats are finally starting to get hot, because they've been pretty cold. Like, they're averaging like less than 2 runs a game. That's pretty bad. So hopefully, this is a sign of things improving, and maybe, just maybe, they can catch the Twins and take over the division. That would be nice. It would be nice to get some of these young guys some playoff experience. So when they get it all together and they legitimately make the playoffs, they can get somewhere in the playoffs. but we'll see what happens. But that's going to wrap it up for Guardians. So we're going to take a quick break and then we will go on to talking about Browns. There's lots to talk about with the Browns. So I'll be back shortly on the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's going on, football fans? This is me, your boy Larry B, inviting you to join myself, Colin Reynolds, Mike Pat, and John Felipe for one of the most electrifying football shows you have ever heard. 3 and Out, right here at IE Sports Radio. Recap of the week before, a preview of what's to come, and of course, 3 hardcore head-to-head prime-time face-offs each week. You don't want to miss it. College football, and do you want to hear a college football show dedicated to all that is college football, including junior college and the CCAA and the NJCAA, the NAIA, and the NCAA, including Division III, Division II, Division I AA in the FCS, and Division I Single A in the FBS? Well then, look no further. Join myself, Larry B., and my colleagues, Mr. H-Town Blake Henley, and Mr. Christian Espinoza, each week during the college football season for the latest in college football on 3 and Out College Edition, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff for my people on the 913 South. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hey there, sports fans. Are you looking for a sports show that maybe isn't 100% about sports?
Then you might want to check out the Sports Couple Perspectives right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Most sports shows cover only scores and stats, and while we're not opposed to that, we dig a little deeper into sports issues and some of the hottest topics in athletics.
In addition to sports, we take a journey through my neck of the woods, pop culture, with movie reviews of both sports and non-sports films.
Speaking of pop culture, make sure to participate in our game nights, where we quiz each other on our specialties, and you, the listeners, can win IE Sports Radio apparel.
We always have a great time learning more about each other's worlds, one show at a time.
So join us each week on the Sports Couple Perspectives, right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
You're back live with Gen B on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We're going to get into the Browns, but before we do that, Taryn in the chat says the Guardians have a chance, but time is running out. So true, Taryn, so true. It is running out, but there is a chance. There's a chance, and we live for chances in Cleveland. So let's move on to the Browns. So Friday night, they played the Washington Commanders in a preseason game in Washington. The first team started the game. The defense was mostly all starters. Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett did not play, but everybody else did, which was nice to see. Zadarius Smith out there, Dalvin Tomlinson, Juan Thornhill, among others. So it was good to see the first team out there on defense. And on offense, most of the starters played. There wasn't much from DPJ. He did do a punt return, but he wasn't really in there on the offense much. And then Nick Chubb and Amari Cooper were also out. The first team offense did pretty well. They marched straight down the field. Unfortunately, they couldn't get the touchdown, but if Amari and Chubb had been playing, that probably would have been a touchdown. They got to about the 1 yard line, and the backup running backs couldn't get it in. But Ford is still hurt, so he wasn't in. So it was Felton and Kelly, and Felton kind of missed his hole and went a different direction. He didn't trust it or something, and he went a different direction and got stopped. And then Kelly got caught in the backfield for a loss. So, it was positive. Deshaun Watson looked comfortable. He was in command of the offense. Had a couple of great plays with Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore did end up getting hurt on one of those plays. I'm not sure which one because it sure didn't look like he was hurt watching the game. And I watched it twice, and I did not see him get hurt. But it came out that he was taken to the locker room for x-rays and apparently bruised his ribs. So he was back at practice today doing individual drills. I don't believe he participated in team reps, but he did participate in individual drills, so that's positive. So his injury doesn't appear to be too serious. And then we had Jacob Phillips get hurt on the defense, tore his pec again for the second year in a row. So he is now on IR, so he is out for the season on the last year of his contract. So boo. That is not good for him. So there was a chance he wasn't going to make the team anyway, so now he's definitely not going to play. So it is what it is. And then the first team defense played a couple of drives, and the defensive line looked amazing. They got at least one sack on first team, and they were putting pressure on the quarterback like crazy, blowing things up. So that was good to see. The whole defense looked pretty solid, and it was nice to see some cohesion because last year was just crazy with nobody seeming to know where they were supposed to be or what they were supposed to do. So that was nice to see, and it does look like Jim Schwartz's defense is paying off, at least in the preseason. We'll see how it pays off in the regular season. After Deshaun Watson, Joshua Dobbs came in, and he looked awful. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he did. He looked awful. Last preseason, he looked amazing. Like, everybody was like, maybe we should start him instead of Jacoby Brissett. But he looked awful. Of the four quarterbacks that played, he was the worst. Like, if you watch the highlights on YouTube, there is one highlight during Joshua Dobbs' series, and it wasn't because of him. It was because the receiver made an amazing catch on a horrible throw. And that receiver, which we are going to talk a little bit about, was Austin Watkins, who is looking amazing since the Browns brought him in a couple weeks ago. He has been lighting it up in the preseason games and at the training camp practices, even at the joint practices with Philadelphia this week. He is making plays like crazy. And the catch he had on the throw by Josh Dobbs, the throw was not in the right spot at all. It was off to the side and high, and he jumped for it and made the catch. It was amazing. Got hit as he was catching the ball, held on to it. It was great to see. We're not used to that here in Cleveland, like people making plays, like good plays, unless it's Nick Chubb on offense or Mari Cooper. So that was refreshing, and he is definitely showing some promise and making a case for himself to make the final 53. I don't know if he will, but it would be nice to see him get a shot, but pretty deep at receiver. So we'll see what happens there. Right now we've got, I think, 13 receivers on the roster, and they're going to cut it down to 6 or 7. So, and at least 5 of those 6 to 7 spots are locks with Amari Cooper, DPJ, Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, and most likely David Bell, because I don't see Andrew Berry cutting his 3rd round pick from last year. So there's not many spots available for these guys to grab in the receiver room. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be interesting to see how the Browns decide to handle that in the receiver room, if they're going to go with 6 or 7 or how they're going to do that. And then you've also got the guys that play special teams. So right now on the depth chart, Jakeem Grant is still listed as the number 1 returner for kicks and punts. So we'll see what happens there. I've heard talk that he is not looking too comfortable in practice. He's showing signs of soreness in his leg from the Achilles tear. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be interesting to see what the final roster spots in the receiver room end up being. And then the Browns signed DT Shelby Harris, which was huge news. So we now have Dalvin Tomlinson and Shelby Harris to add to Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith on the defensive line. So he joined the team Friday. He was at the Washington game, but he was not dressed. He had just gotten there. So he is in Philadelphia, and he is participating in the joint practices. So I don't know if we'll see him in the game. Probably not, because they're not starting many, if any, starters in the game. But it will be nice to see him. I just saw an interview with him today, and he's so pumped to be here. He said, basically, how could I pass up the opportunity to play with Myles Garrett and Zadarius Smith and be coached by Jim Schwartz? It's like the ideal situation for a defensive lineman. So he's pumped to be here, and he said he chose the Browns because of the teams interested in him. They have the best chance of winning. So that was good to hear. Taryn in the chat says, it's risky business playing the starters, but you also don't want to be rusty. And he also says Shelby Harris is a good pickup on the defense. And I agree on both points. I'm back and forth on preseason and starters playing. I have heard quite a few arguments for it. Andy Reid tends to play the starters with Kansas City, and Kansas City doesn't tend to have a lot of injuries, at least not major injuries. So there is some talk that it may be better for the players to play more in preseason to get more football ready, but you also don't want to risk those injuries before the season even starts. So it's like, it's a catch-22. And there has been talk of the Browns signing Shelby Harris for as long as I can remember this off season. So he did come in for a visit a week or two ago, and nothing happened. So we were like, okay, so either the visit went well and he's not ready to join a team, or maybe they just want to see what they have in the first couple of preseason games and then decide if they're going to sign him or whatever. But they did, and they signed him, so that was awesome. He did make a joke in his press conference and say, I'm not saying that I wanted to be here for the whole training camp, because I'd be lying if I said that. So, like most vets, he's trying to avoid as much training camp as possible, but get in there early enough that he can learn the system and get comfortable with his teammates before the season starts. And then joint practices with the Philadelphia Eagles started yesterday. So they had practiced yesterday together and today together. Tomorrow's an off day, and then the game on Thursday. So yesterday we had injuries galore at the first joint practice, but I did read that the Browns won the 11-on-11 drills, so that was good to hear. The defense blew things up, and Jalen Hurts looked like a fish out of water from what I read. So that was good to hear. Today it was more even, so the Philadelphia beat reporter says that Philadelphia won. So I haven't seen the Browns beat reporters' takes yet, so I don't know. But Philadelphia guy says that Philadelphia won. But he also said that both teams played really, really, really well today. And he was very disappointed in Jalen Hurts' performance yesterday. So that was good to see that everybody's looking better. There were a couple of fights today. I saw DeJuan Jones started tossing Eagles players because they hit Demetric Felton a little late on a running play. So, and then I guess there was some other small fights, but nothing too serious, and everything was broken up pretty quickly, and nobody got hurt in the fights. But yesterday we had first, Jack Conklin left practice and went to the training. Went first to the medical tent and then into the building with the trainers. And today it was reported that he is in concussion protocol. So hopefully that will heal up pretty quickly and we'll have him back. Thankfully, it's not another leg injury. So we'll see what happens with the concussion on him. Myles Garrett also left practice with an injury. Apparently he got kicked in the foot or something. I don't know, but he was back out after practice signing autographs and laughing and having a good old time, and he was back at practice today. He did not participate in team drills, but he did participate in individual drills. And then Denzel Ward also left practice yesterday, and today it was announced that it was a heat-related illness, so he was also back at practice today. And then, as I said a little while ago, Elijah Moore was back at practice today also. So that is good to hear that everybody's coming back. And Greg Newsome, also returned to practice yesterday after his groin injury. So that is definitely a positive. Stefanski announced today that DTR will get the start on Thursday. Kellen Mond will also play. So from the sounds of it, both Dobbs and Watson will not be playing Thursday. It'll be more like the Hall of Fame game. Just reversed. DTR's going to start and Kellen Mond's going to finish it out this time. So it'll be good to see some more DTR because he is quite electric and fun to watch. He did very well again in the Washington game. Kellen Mond looks much better in the Washington game than he did in the Hall of Fame game. So that was good to see. Like I said, of the four quarterbacks, Dobbs looked the worst. So it'll be interesting to see how they end up doing the quarterback room too, because they did guarantee Josh Dobbs' contract. So I don't know if they'd be willing to cut him and take that loss. But it's DTR is definitely making a case to be the backup quarterback, QB number 2. So we'll see. It's going to be hard. I'm glad I'm not the one that has to make these decisions. It's going to be hard making these decisions on who to cut and who not to cut when it comes to cut down day in some of these position rooms. The Browns also signed another running back this week, Jordan Wilkins, who he's not played a whole lot of regular season games. He's been on practice squads most of his career, but he's got some promise, so he will be some more competition for Felton and Kelly. So we will probably get to see him Thursday, hopefully, so we can see what he can do. And then it'll be down to those 3, and then it will depend on where Ford's at with his injury on it, the hamstring injury, to see if they decide to go with 4 running backs for now and maybe put Ford on the IR or something. We'll see what they decide to do there. And then I just also, speaking of injuries, saw a report today from Jack Duffin where he thinks that the Browns will end up keeping both Alex Wright and Isaiah Thomas, who are both currently out with knee injuries and both had surgery. So they're not expected back until at least after the bye week, week 5. But he thinks they'll end up keeping them both and put them both on IR. And then they can re-sign a couple people that they cut possibly, or somebody that was cut from another team or whatever to fill in those roster spots after they put them on the IR. So that kind of makes me excited because I really like Isaiah Thomas, but I wasn't so sure that there was going to be room for him on the roster. So I will be very happy if they end up keeping him, but we'll see what happens there too. We've got a lot of question marks and a lot of depth. So depth is never a bad thing to have. So we like it. We like it a lot. There's going to be a lot of good players cut, and some of the ones that they want to cut and try and get on the practice squad, they may not be able to get. So it's gonna be fun to see how that all works out with everybody cutting everybody on the same day. So there's gonna be like 1,000 players available. Crazy, right? 1,000 players available at the same time. Absurd. So we'll see. We will see very soon. I believe that's coming up August 29th at 4 p.m. is the deadline for getting down to 53 men. So everybody's got to go from 90 to 53. So it'll be an interesting week. There will be a lot of players available. So we're going to take another break. That wraps us up with the Browns, and I will be back shortly, and we will discuss Cavs and the schedule releases. This is Jen B on the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's happening, sports fans? Are you a fan of Southern California sports? Are you looking for a show hotter than a hot summer day in California? Then look no further than the SoCal Supreme Sports Show, where I talk about all things Southern California sports. That's right, all sports teams from Southern California. From the hard-hitting tackles of the NFL, to the killer crossovers and big three-pointers of the NBA and WNBA, to the grand slams of the MLB, to the bone-chilling goals of the NHL, and to the booming kicks of the MLS. The SoCal Supreme Sports Show has it all for you. Oh, and let us not forget about the college sports as well. So join me, Taryn Rodriguez, every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
IE Sports Radio fans, it's your boy, the SoCal Saint, the host of the premier professional wrestling podcast online today, the IE Elite Wrestling Show. If you're a fan and have a passion for the world of professional wrestling, this is the show for you. I take you inside the ropes with all the athleticism, high-flying, and hard-hitting action, and then we take it backstage with all the backstage drama and backstabbing that goes on in the world of professional wrestling today. If something's going on in the world of professional wrestling, rest assured, the SoCal Saint knows what's going on, and he's going to let you know too. If you're a fan, check us out every Tuesday, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on IE Sports Radio. The IE Elite Wrestling Show, your direct feed for all that is professional wrestling, on the only network that is your direct feed for all that is sports. Check us out.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Hello, ladies and sinners. Hello, sports fans around the world. Hello, IE Sports family. This is Cale Henderson, the host of IE Vegas, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio. If you folks are interested in sports in the Vegas area, if you're wanting to have a blast for 1 hour every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, this is a show built for the Vegas sports fans, where we feature the Las Vegas Raiders, the Las Vegas Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the University of Las Vegas, Nevada Rebels. Hopefully, fingers crossed, MLB team coming soon. Either way, if you folks are looking to have a blast for 1 hour each and every week, tune in Tuesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you folks are interested in Vegas sports news, go to our Twitter, at SinCities_IESR, and you can speak with me, the host, Cale Henderson, at Cale_Henderson on Twitter. At any time, be happy to reply. Always want to reach out to our fans. Again, the Sin City Sports Show, presented by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Are you a fan of Buffalo sports? Are you thinking of changing loyalties and becoming a Buffalo sports fan? Do you even know where Buffalo is on the map? Did you know Canada is closer to Buffalo than New York City? Welcome to the Buffalo Huddle, every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your host, Patty Bax. This is a podcast designed for you, the passionate sports fan. I know you love your sports. Who doesn't? I cover Buffalo sports and so much more by bringing in the human elements. I call it Buffalo Sports with a Twist. Join me as we take a journey into the world of Buffalo sports. I guarantee you'll fall in love with Buffalo just like I did. Each week we start with an inspiration, question of the day, a Buffalo fun fact, and a weekly challenge to you, the listener. Come huddle up with me every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and 4 p.m. Pacific Coast Time for the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. As we say in Buffalo, go Bills!
You're back live with Jen B on the Show of the Land right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Before we get to the Cavs, we have Mikey in the chat says, I always love getting caught up on Cleveland sports. Such a great sports city with great fans. Thanks, Mikey. I couldn't agree more. So let's talk some Cavs. So we had a preseason schedule release and the in-season tournament schedule release this week. So this year we're going to start out the preseason on October 10th at home, or I'm sorry, not at home, at Atlanta against the Hawks, and then at home versus the Orlando Magic on the 12th. And then on October 16th, we will be playing, and I'm not sure that I'm saying this right, Maccabi Ra'anana, which is an Israeli team. They are part of the Israeli National Basketball League, and that will be interesting to see. So we'll see what happens there. And then they finish out the preseason on 10/20 in Indiana against the Pacers. In the chat, Mikey says, your Cavs gave my Celtics fits last season. Those were some really good games, Mikey. They really were. They came down to the wire, some of them. And then he also says, great young Cavs team. Yes, they really are. I'm very excited to see how the new players and the current players all work out together with some of the roster changes they made. So that will be interesting. I can't wait until October 10th. Then we got Cavs, Browns, and maybe, just maybe, still Guardians. Keep our fingers crossed on that one. So this afternoon, they released the in-season tournament schedule. So as of right now, the Cavs will be playing on November 3rd in Indiana, the Pacers. Then at home on the 17th, the Detroit Pistons. And then at Philadelphia against the 76ers on November 21st. And then at home on November 28th against the Atlanta Hawks. So this in-season tournament is going to be interesting. It's going to be similar to the way they did the summer league. So the teams are all divided into 6 groups. A, B, and C group in the West and A, B, and C in the East. The Cavs are in Group A in the East, and then 8 teams from each will move on to the quarterfinals, and then 4 to the semifinals, and then you'll have the championship, which will be in Vegas, just like the Summer League was. So that will be an interesting change to the NBA season. It'll be interesting to see how that all plays out and how it breaks things up a little bit in the middle of the season. Well, not really the middle, but the middle of the first half of the season. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully the Cavs can do like they did in the Summer League and take the championship. That would be awesome. So in the chat, Mikey says, what roster changes did the Cavs make this summer? So the Cavs added Max Strus, Georges Niang, and Ty Jerome. And then they re-signed Karis LeVert, Lamar Stevens, Chetty Osman were traded. Ricky Rubio is taking a mental leave of absence. And I'm trying to think if there's anybody else that is gone or added. I don't think so. Yes, Mikey says, oh wow, Strus is a great shooter. Yes, that's why they added him. So he is most likely going to play where Isaac Okoro was playing last year. So he will be from what I'm hearing, he will most likely be in the starting lineup. So the starting lineup will be Garland, Mitchell, Strus, Mobley, and I just lost his name. Jared Allen. Mikey says, Georges Niang, good old Massachusetts boy. Yes, so they added some depth so that they have some rotation, hopefully better rotation, because the current rotation or the previous rotation did not work out well in the playoffs last year. It was fine for the regular season, but in the playoffs it did not go well, obviously, since we didn't make it past the Knicks. It was awful. It was so bad. It was so disappointing after how well they played throughout most of the season. It was so disappointing to see them get knocked out of the playoffs in the first round, but it is what it is. They're young. They'll learn. Now they have that experience, so. Mikey says, is Donovan Mitchell happy in Cleveland? So I'm hearing rumors both ways, but from everything I've heard from Donovan Mitchell himself, yes, he is happy here. He enjoys the team. He had best season of his career last year. He enjoys his teammates. He's been participating in community events. And he's always supporting the other Cleveland teams. So I think it's just disgruntled fans because they didn't make it too far in the playoffs. People were very disappointed in Donovan Mitchell's play in the playoffs. So I think that is part of the rumors that have been going around. But I have not heard anything from anybody to note that anything is wrong in the Donovan Mitchell court, so it doesn't seem like that's the case. Kobe Altman, the GM, came out and said they have no plans to move Donovan Mitchell, so I do not believe that is the case. Mikey says, is Colin Sexton still on your team? No. He was traded. He was part of the Donovan Mitchell trade. So he has been gone for a little over a year. But, so we've got Cavs basketball coming soon. October 10th. Well, I guess it's not that soon, but it seems soon. This year is going so fast. So, little less than 2 months. Woohoo! Basketball. And then, Got the Browns on Thursday. Got the Guardians. Actually, the game just started. Mikey says, "Ooh, I blinked to the party." Yeah, I was a little disappointed because Colin Sexton was hurt the year before, so he didn't really play much. So I was looking forward to seeing him, and then they traded him, and I didn't get to see him. So, it is what it is. But hopefully he does well over there in Utah. So we will see. But that's gonna wrap things up mostly for today. I think I covered pretty much everything. There's not a whole lot to talk about on the Cavs front other than the schedule releases. So, hopefully in the next few weeks or months, it'll start picking up with the season getting ready to start. But that is that. And go Browns, go Guardians, and go Cavs. But that's all for tonight. Thank you for joining. Thanks for joining me, Jen B, on the Show of the Land. Be sure to follow me on X, Instagram, and or Threads at BelieveLandGirl. And you can follow the show on X at Show of the Land IE. Next up, the Buffalo Huddle with Patty Bax right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Have a great night, Cleveland.